From the silence of the cosmos, we approach a small blue world, a planet shaped by fire, ice, and time itself. For billions of years, life has risen and fallen here. But one question remains: are we truly the first civilization to call this Earth our home? Chapter 1. The Question of Forgotten Civilizations. Imagine standing on the shore of deep time, gazing back across billions of years of Earth's history. Our species, Homo sapiens, has occupied only the last brief flicker of this vast timeline. Civilization itself, from the first cities to the digital world of today, spans barely 10,000 years. Against the scale of a planet that is 4.5 billion years old, we are less than a blink, a footnote written on the final page of an endless book. And yet, we tell ourselves a story of uniqueness, that we are the first, the only, the singular intelligence to have reshaped this world with technology. But what if that story is incomplete? What if the ruins of forgotten civilizations lie not above the ground, but buried within it, swallowed by oceans, broken down by erosion, erased by time itself? This is the haunting possibility raised by what scientists call the Silurian Hypothesis. It does not argue that such civilizations definitely existed, but asks instead, if they had, would we even be able to detect them? Would their traces survive the ceaseless recycling of Earth's crust, the grinding of glaciers, the relentless march of geological renewal? We know that nature preserves some moments with extraordinary clarity. One thin band of clay in Italy tells the story of an asteroid that struck 65 million years ago, ending the reign of the dinosaurs. If a single day of destruction could etch itself permanently into stone, then surely an industrial civilization, lasting thousands of years, would leave behind echoes of its presence. Carbon isotopes in the air, synthetic materials in the sediments, radioactive signatures in the rocks. But here is the unsettling truth. The deeper we look into the past, the more we find anomalies. Shifts in chemistry, sudden extinctions, abrupt transitions in life's story that cannot be fully explained. Natural perhaps, but possibly something more. The very name of the Silurian Hypothesis hints at its dual nature, a blend of science and imagination. It was inspired not by geology, but by science fiction. The Silurians, reptilian beings in the Doctor Who universe, who built advanced societies long before humankind. Yet myth and fiction often serve as mirrors for possibility. From Plato's tale of Atlantis to the cyclical destructions described in Hindu cosmology, cultures across the world have whispered stories of forgotten ages, civilizations drowned, burned, or erased. Could these myths be distorted memories of something real? Or are they simply cautionary tales, shadows cast by our own fear of impermanence? As we embark on this journey, we are not searching for pyramids buried beneath the sea or lost machines hidden in caves. We are searching for patterns, subtle, chemical, geological, signatures that endure even when stone is ground to sand. The question is not whether such evidence exists, but whether we have trained our eyes to recognize it. For in the silence of deep time, civilizations may rise and fall like waves, each leaving behind only faint ripples in the ocean of Earth's memory. Perhaps we are not the first. Perhaps we will not be the last. Chapter 2. Earth's Geological Memory. The Earth is not a static archive. It is a restless, breathing planet, constantly rewriting its own story. Unlike the barren surfaces of Mars or the Moon, where ancient scars remain unhealed for billions of years, our world is a place of renewal. Continents drift, oceans open and close, mountains rise only to be worn down to dust. Every moment, Earth is erasing the evidence of its past, replacing it with something new. Consider the ocean floor. Though the seas themselves are ancient, the crust beneath them is remarkably young. Nowhere on Earth's seabed is older than about 170 million years. That may sound vast, but it is only a fraction of Earth's 4.5 billion year history. In the slow churn of plate tectonics, the seabed is swallowed back into the mantle, recycled into new rock, its ancient layers lost forever. If entire civilizations once lived on coastlines or built their cities upon islands, those landscapes may have vanished into the furnace of the deep earth, their every trace obliterated. Even on land, the odds of survival are slim. Wind, water, ice, and fire constantly reshape the continents. Volcanoes bury whole regions beneath lava flows. Glaciers scour the ground clean, erasing forests and rivers as though they never existed. In deserts, sand grinds stone into nothingness. In jungles, vegetation devours everything human hands might build. Within just a few tens of thousands of years, concrete turns to rubble, steel returns to rust, and glass shatters into grains indistinguishable from the sand around it. The most durable of human creations, our bridges, our skyscrapers, our monuments, would crumble into unrecognizable ruins long before 1 million years had passed. This reality forces us to confront a sobering truth. If another industrial society rose and fell in deep time, its monuments may be gone, its artifacts destroyed, its entire visible world erased. Earth, in its ceaseless renewal, does not keep the past intact. It grinds it down, buries it, and melts it back into its core. And yet, not everything vanishes. Some traces are stubborn. Some signals resist the passage of time. Chemical fingerprints can linger long after structures crumble. Isotopic ratios in rocks and ice may preserve the story of combustion, pollution, or nuclear fire. Plastic, though fragile at the surface, may endure as microscopic fragments pressed into sediments for millions of years. These subtle clues, not grand monuments, may be all that remains of civilizations too ancient to imagine. So when we look into the Earth's geological memory, we must understand it not as a library of intact records, but as a palimpsest, pages rewritten again and again, traces of older words faintly visible beneath the newer ink. Civilizations may come and go like shadows across this canvas, their boldest achievements reduced to whispers. The challenge before us is learning how to listen to those whispers, to read the faint signatures left behind in stone, ice, and ocean mud. For it is in those delicate traces that the true memory of Earth resides. Chapter 3. Industrial fingerprints in deep time. Every civilization, no matter how advanced or how fleeting, leaves behind fingerprints. Not the towering monuments we so often imagine, but subtle, chemical, and geological imprints that endure long after structures crumble into dust. If we wish to find evidence of civilizations that might have existed millions of years before us, we must train our eyes not on ruins, but on residues. When humanity burns fossil fuels, we alter the chemistry of the atmosphere. Carbon that was once locked away for hundreds of millions of years is suddenly released, changing the delicate balance of isotopes. This signal, the depletion of carbon-13 relative to carbon-12, is now etched into our air, our oceans, and even the growth rings of ancient trees. It is a signature that will outlast us, one that future scientists, millions of years from now, could detect with ease. If we can imagine others who came before, then their combustion, their energy use, their chemical shadows, should be buried deep within Earth's layered memory. But carbon is only one clue. Nuclear technology leaves an even sharper mark. The detonation of atomic weapons creates isotopes that occur nowhere in nature. Isotopes that endure for tens of thousands of years, perhaps longer. If another civilization split the atom, their fallout could still be measured today. Silent proof of a technological fire, ignited and then extinguished long before our time. And yet, in certain strata, anomalies appear. Ratios of isotopes that mirror our own nuclear activities, but date back millions of years. Natural explanations are possible, but unsettling questions remain. Then, there are the strange metallic spheres. Found in layers of ancient rock, these microscopic beads of rare metals resemble the byproducts of high-temperature industrial processes, exactly the kind produced by modern furnaces and factories, yet they lie entombed in sediments that predate humanity by an impossible margin. Are these the traces of volcanism, or the scattered ashes of long-vanished machines? And finally, there are plastics, the immortal fossils of our own time. Our plastics will outlive us all, persisting as fragments woven into sediments, even as our cities turn to dust. Long after our species is forgotten, plastic will tell our story. But startlingly, some sediments contain polymer-like materials that appear synthetic in origin, their chemistry alien to nature, yet their age millions of years older than our kind. If these are truly artificial, they represent the quiet echoes of an earlier age of industry. These are the industrial fingerprints of deep time, carbon isotopes, radioactive elements, metallic spheres, synthetic polymers. Each is a whisper that may tell us whether others walk this path before us. Each is a riddle, forcing us to ask whether the geological record we trust so deeply is hiding more than it reveals. For civilizations, no matter how great, leave shadows in stone, and those shadows, once recognized, cannot be unseen. Chapter 4. The fossil record as a puzzle. The fossil record is often described as the grand archive of life, a layered manuscript stretching back more than 3 billion years. But when we open its pages, we find not a seamless narrative, but a story riddled with gaps, leaps, and sudden transformations. It is less a continuous chronicle than a mystery novel, torn and rewritten across the eons. Consider the Cambrian explosion, over 500 million years ago. Before this event, life forms were simple, soft-bodied, largely microscopic, and scarcely preserved in stone. Then, almost in an instant, on the geological timescale, the oceans filled with creatures bearing shells, eyes, teeth, and complex body plans. Trilobites marched across the seafloor, while predators with sophisticated hunting structures appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Evolutionary theory tells us such complexity should take tens of millions of years to emerge gradually. Instead, it erupted suddenly, a biological Big Bang. Traditional science explains these gaps as artifacts of preservation. Soft-bodied creatures rarely fossilize, and conditions for fossilization are so specific that entire ecosystems could vanish without leaving a trace. Erosion, volcanism, and shifting seas may have erased the slow buildup that led to these apparent leaps. And yet, some transitions are too abrupt, too selective, to rest entirely on chance preservation. The fossil record sometimes behaves as if someone flipped a switch, erasing one caste of species and replacing them with another. Other mysteries abound. Mass extinctions clear the stage of life, only for new forms to appear fully adapted in their place. The Great Dying, at the end of the Permian wiped out over 90% of marine species. Yet within a geological blink, new life radiated across the seas. The extinction at the close of the Cretaceous ended the age of the dinosaurs, but the mammals that rose in their stead seemed prepared, as if evolution had been accelerated. Was this only nature's resilience, or could it be evidence of intervention, of a guiding hand shaping the next act of Earth's story? Even within the gaps themselves, strange patterns emerge. Certain biochemical signatures in ancient rocks suggest changes in atmospheric chemistry, too sudden to be purely natural. Oxygen levels spike, carbon dioxide plunges, oceans acidify, then recover in ways that echo the fingerprints of industry. Perhaps these are merely the products of unfamiliar natural processes, or perhaps they are faint, distorted whispers of civilizations that reshape their environment, just as we are doing now. To study the fossil record is to confront absence as much as presence. What is missing may be as important as what remains. It is here in the silences of deep time that speculation thrives. Were these absences shaped by chance, by catastrophe, or by civilizations now erased from memory? The fossil record does not answer. It only presents the puzzle, leaving us to decide how to read between its fragmented lines. Chapter 5: Mass Extinctions and Possible Causes. Life on Earth is resilient, but it is also fragile. Over the past 500 million years, the history of our planet has been punctuated by moments of catastrophe. Mass extinctions that swept away the majority of living species in a geological instant. These events are among the most dramatic markers in Earth's story, reshaping the course of evolution and opening space for new life to emerge. They are also moments that provoke unsettling questions. What caused them, and were all of them purely natural? The most famous of these catastrophes is the asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous period, snuffing out the dinosaurs and clearing the path for mammals to rise. The evidence is clear: a global layer of iridium, shocked quartz, and the scar of a vast crater in the Yucatan. But other extinctions are less easily explained. The Permian-Triassic extinction, often called the Great Dying, eliminated over 90% of marine life and 70% of land species. Its cause remains debated: massive volcanic eruptions, methane release, or perhaps something we have not yet considered. The possibility that some extinctions may have been triggered or accelerated by intelligent intervention cannot be dismissed. Thoughtful. Industrial activity on a planetary scale alters climate, poisons ecosystems, and destabilizes environments. Sina. If our own actions today are capable of initiating a sixth mass extinction, then it is conceivable that earlier civilizations may have done the same. Burning fossil fuels, spreading toxins, or deploying weapons of mass destruction could all leave scars that future life would misinterpret as natural disasters. Even more disturbing is the thought of deliberate extinction. Species may vanish not only by accident, but by design. Biological warfare, genetic manipulation gone awry, or the intentional erasure of competing life forms might all account for patterns in the fossil record that appear abrupt and unnatural. A civilization struggling with its own survival might have gambled with the biosphere and lost. And yet, mass extinctions also reveal Earth's uncanny ability to recover. After devastation comes renewal. New lineages evolve, ecosystems rebound, and life surges back in unexpected forms. To future observers, these rebounds might look like miracles, or like the work of unseen architects guiding evolution towards specific outcomes. Are these simply the blind mechanics of natural selection? Or could they be the fingerprints of interventions we no longer recognize? Mass extinctions are turning points, crossroads where the old world ends and a new one begins. They remind us how fragile life is and how swiftly everything we know can vanish. But they also remind us that in those voids, new possibilities are born. If ancient civilizations rose and fell, perhaps their final act was to alter the stage of life itself, whether by accident, by ambition, or by hubris too great to control. Chapter 6. The Nuclear Enigma. Among the many signatures that a civilization can leave behind, none is as unmistakable or as haunting as the mark of nuclear fire. For in splitting the atom, a society transforms not only its own destiny, but the very chemistry of the planet. Radioactive isotopes, artificial elements unknown in nature, and long-lived traces of fallout embed themselves in soil and stone. These are signals that can endure for tens of thousands of years, perhaps even longer, whispering of power, once unleashed and then lost. On Earth, we know this not just from the atomic age of humanity, but from a far older enigma, the natural nuclear reactors of Oklo in Gabon, Africa. 2 billion years ago, conditions aligned so perfectly that uranium deposits spontaneously underwent fission, sustaining reactions for hundreds of thousands of years. When scientists first discovered this, they were stunned. At first glance, the isotopic ratios looked indistinguishable from those produced in a man-made reactor. It was only through exhaustive analysis that the natural explanation became clear. But if natural processes can mimic the signature of a nuclear reactor, then how can we be certain when such signatures are found elsewhere? Around the world, geologists have identified isotope anomalies in strata far older than our species, ratios that resemble the byproducts of weapons testing or reactor activity. Most can be explained as natural, yet a few resist easy answers. Could these be the ghostly remains of an ancient technology, long buried beneath layers of time? Nuclear energy is both promise and peril. It offers the potential for near limitless power, but at the cost of catastrophic risk. Our own history demonstrates how quickly this fire can be turned toward destruction. In the 20th century alone, thousands of weapons were detonated, searing their radioactive fingerprints into the fabric of the Earth. Millions of years from now, those isotopic scars will still be visible, long after our cities have crumbled and our names are forgotten. If another civilization mastered the atom, the evidence might not be grand monuments or machines, but subtle shifts in isotope ratios, buried deep within the rocks. A telltale depletion of uranium here, a surplus of plutonium there. Signatures too precise, too deliberate, to be explained by geology alone. The problem is not whether the evidence exists, but whether we are willing to interpret it for what it might be. The nuclear enigma forces us to ask an unsettling question. Are we alone in carrying this dangerous knowledge, or are we simply the latest in a line of civilizations who discovered the atom, burned too brightly, and vanished into silence? Perhaps every species that rises to this level of power faces the same choice: to wield it wisely, or to let it become the instrument of their extinction. If so, then the buried isotopes of Earth may not only be records of past fire, but warnings etched in stone for those who come after. Chapter 7. The Role of Myth and Culture. Long before the language of science existed, humanity told its truths in stories. Myths, legends, and cultural memory carried ideas across generations, encoding fears, hopes, and warnings in the language of gods and heroes. Today, as we examine the Silurian Hypothesis, it is worth asking, could some of those ancient tales be distorted echoes of forgotten civilizations? Consider Atlantis, the fabled city described by Plato. According to the story, It was a great civilization that achieved tremendous power before sinking beneath the waves in a single night of catastrophe. Scholars have long debated whether Plato's account was allegory or memory, myth or truth. To some, it was simply a parable about hubris. To others, it feels like a distant recollection of real events, blurred by the passage of time. In Mesopotamian tradition, gods descended from the heavens to teach humanity agriculture, law, and writing. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki, beings who shaped human destiny. In Hindu cosmology, entire cycles of creation and destruction are described, with civilizations rising, flourishing, and falling across spans of millions of years. The Maya envisioned worlds that ended and began again, each cycle wiping away the past. These stories may be symbolic, reflections of natural disasters or cultural shifts. Flood myths, for example, appear in cultures across the globe, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to the story of Noah, from Hindu scriptures to Native American oral traditions. Perhaps they all recall a shared human memory of rising seas at the end of the last ice age. Or perhaps they are fragments of something older retold in different tongues. The memory of civilizations destroyed, their ruins swallowed by the ocean. Even in modern times, science fiction has carried these themes forward. The very name Silurian Hypothesis comes not from geology, but from the British television series Doctor Who, which imagined intelligent reptilian beings predating humanity. While fictional, the choice reveals a deeper truth. Our imagination often reaches toward possibilities science is only beginning to consider. Culture and myth are not evidence in the scientific sense, yet they shape our perception, planting seeds of curiosity. When we hear of Atlantis, of lost golden ages, or of civilizations destroyed by fire and flood, something resonates. Perhaps it is only metaphor. Or perhaps it is an unconscious recognition that civilizations, no matter how mighty, are fragile. Perhaps, through story, ancient peoples passed forward a warning that what has happened before can happen again. In myth, memory and imagination blur together, but it is here, in these timeless tales, that the human spirit contemplates eternity. And in those echoes of forgotten worlds, we may glimpse the possibility that ours is not the first chapter in Earth's great story. Chapter 8. The Silurian Devonian Revolution as Analogy. Not all revolutions are born of technology. Some are carried by the quiet work of nature itself. One of the most dramatic transformations in Earth's history came not from industry, but from plants. During the Silurian and Devonian periods, nearly 400 million years ago, life began to colonize the land in earnest. Tiny mosses and simple greenery evolved into vascular plants with roots, stems, and leaves. Soon, forests spread across the continents, and with them came a cascade of planetary change. These early plants altered the chemistry of the soil, breaking down rock and releasing minerals. They pulled vast quantities of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, exhaling oxygen in return. As forests expanded, oxygen levels soared, transforming the very air of the planet. Rivers shifted course, climates cooled, and entire ecosystems reshaped themselves in response to this new green world. It was an ecological revolution, as profound in its consequences as any industrial revolution brought by humans. To a future observer, looking only at the chemical record in stone, the Silurian Devonian transformation might appear as sudden and inexplicable as the effects of geoengineering. A sharp decline in carbon dioxide, a rapid spike in oxygen, sedimentary changes that suggest altered erosion and weathering. Without knowing the role of plants, such signals could be misinterpreted as the deliberate actions of an advanced civilization. This comparison is more than a curiosity, it is a warning. When we search for ancient civilizations, we must distinguish between what is natural and what is artificial. Earth is fully capable of reshaping itself in ways that mimic technology. The line between biology and industry is not as sharp as we imagine. Life itself can leave industrial-scale signatures, and yet the analogy cuts both ways. Just as forests transform the atmosphere, so too can civilizations. Our burning of fossil fuels, our release of synthetic compounds, our nuclear activities, these leave traces that, millions of years from now, could be mistaken for natural upheavals. The Silurian Devonian revolution reminds us that context matters. Without a full picture, future scientists might confuse our fingerprints with nature's or nature's with ours. By studying this ancient green revolution, we sharpen our ability to read Earth's past. We learn humility, recognizing that even the boldest of human signatures may fade into ambiguity, and we gain perspective, seeing how thin the line is between the works of biology and the works of technology. In this light, the Silurian Devonian revolution becomes not just a chapter in Earth's story, but a mirror, reflecting the possibility that civilizations may rise and fall, their presence written into stone in ways almost indistinguishable from the hand of nature. Chapter 9. Antarctica, Ocean Trenches and Hidden Worlds. If there are places on Earth where the remnants of forgotten civilizations might still endure, they are likely to be the least explored, least hospitable, and least understood corners of the planet. While human history has played out on the thin skin of continents and coasts, vast realms remain hidden beneath ice and ocean, cloaked in silence for millions of years. Antarctica, the frozen desert at the bottom of the world, is more than a land of ice. Beneath its kilometers-thick glaciers lie mountain ranges, valleys, and ancient lake systems, sealed away for tens of millions of years. Some scientists speculate that entire ecosystems may persist, isolated beneath the ice, untouched by the outside world. If a civilization once existed there, its ruins would be locked away in frozen vaults, preserved like insects in amber. Only with modern technology are we beginning to glimpse these hidden landscapes through radar and satellite imaging. Thoughtful, what secrets still lie entombed beneath Antarctica's icy shroud? Even more mysterious are the ocean trenches. The deep sea is the largest habitat on Earth, yet it is the least explored. Miles below the surface, in perpetual darkness, tectonic plates converge and mountains taller than Everest rise from the abyss. Here, the pressure is crushing, the cold unrelenting, yet life thrives in strange and alien forms. Human technology has only touched these depths a handful of times. If remnants of civilizations lie anywhere, scattered along ancient coastlines now sunken or in drowned valleys far below the waves, they would rest beyond our reach, guarded by the crushing weight of the sea. The ocean hides its past well. Rising seas at the end of the last ice age swallowed vast stretches of human prehistory, submerging coastlines where the first cities may once have stood. How many more coastlines have been lost in the billions of years before us? Entire chapters of Earth's story could be hidden beneath sediment, buried in trenches, or erased by tectonic churn. To search for forgotten civilizations in these depths is to chase ghosts in a realm we barely understand. And yet, hints emerge. Strange structures on the seafloor, unexplained formations beneath Antarctic ice, anomalies that defy easy classification, all fuel speculation that our planet may guard secrets older than humanity itself. Science demands caution, yet imagination compels us to ask, if evidence of a lost world survived anywhere, would we even recognize it when we saw it? Antarctica and the ocean trenches are more than blank spaces on the map. They are the planet's locked vaults, its hidden archives. If Earth has carried civilizations before us, then perhaps their last whispers lie not in open fields or deserts, but in these secret places, entombed in ice. Chapter 10. Geological anomalies in the shadows of deep time. Not all mysteries of Earth are hidden beneath oceans or locked under ice. Some lie in plain sight, embedded in stone, defying simple explanations. These geological anomalies, strange artifacts, unexplained formations, and curious metallic traces, have long sparked debate. Are they products of natural processes we do not yet fully understand? Or could they be whispers of forgotten industry, the remains of civilizations erased by time? In South Africa, miners uncovered small metallic spheres buried in rock 3 billion years old, perfectly shaped, grooved as if crafted. The so-called Klerksdorp spheres have puzzled geologists for decades. Most dismiss them as natural concretions formed by mineral growth, but their uncanny symmetry keeps the questions alive. Were they geological accidents, or deliberate creations of hands long vanished? Other anomalies are scattered across the world, often labeled out-of-place artifacts. In Texas, a hammer encased in stone was discovered, its wooden handle partially fossilized. Some argue it was a modern tool that became encased by unusual mineralization, while others see it as evidence of technologies impossibly older than humanity. The famous Antikythera mechanism, pulled from a shipwreck in Greece, is undeniably human in origin, but when it was first studied, it seemed so advanced for its time that some scholars refused to believe it was ancient at all. It reminds us that even proven artifacts can feel like echoes from a future that should not exist. Even within untouched strata, geologists sometimes uncover metallic anomalies that resemble industrial byproducts. Tiny spheres of nickel and iron, microscopic residues that appear identical to furnace ash, have been found locked in rocks millions of years old. Most are explained as volcanic in origin, yet a few resist easy classification. Each unresolved case opens the door, however slightly, to speculation. Skeptics rightly argue that natural processes can mimic the appearance of design. Crystals grow with perfect symmetry. Erosion carves stone into patterns that look artificial. Pressure and heat forge metals into unlikely forms. And yet, the allure of these anomalies lies in their ambiguity. They are mirrors in which we see not only geology but possibility. Perhaps the greatest lesson of these out-of-place artifacts is not that they prove the existence of forgotten civilizations, but that they remind us how thin the line is between nature's creativity and human invention. A sphere formed by minerals and a sphere crafted by hands are nearly indistinguishable after billions of years. If ancient civilizations left behind tools, machines, or monuments, how easily might they be swallowed by geology, disguised as natural formations, or dismissed as curiosities? These geological anomalies are shadows of deep time, ambiguous, provocative, and unresolved. They bridge the worlds of science and speculation, inviting us to look closer at the stones beneath our feet. For in those stones may lie the faintest traces of worlds we have forgotten, or perhaps worlds we have never truly known. Chapter 11, Messages Across Time. The Search for Intentional Signals. If civilizations have risen and fallen before us, perhaps they understood the fleeting nature of their existence. They may have known that cities crumble, monuments erode, and machines turn to dust. Faced with this inevitability, they may have sought another path, to leave behind not structures, but messages, intentional signals meant to echo across time. We too have attempted this. The Voyager spacecraft carry golden records inscribed with music, languages, and images of Earth. The Arecibo radio telescope once beamed a binary message into the stars, a portrait of our civilization encoded in mathematics. We bury time capsules, engrave plaques, and carve monuments designed to endure far beyond our lifetimes. It is not unreasonable to imagine that others, millions of years before us, may have done the same. But how would an ancient civilization send a message meant to survive geological time? Stone tablets would weather away, metal plates would corrode, and even plastics would eventually degrade. To endure millions of years, the message would need to be embedded not in fragile artifacts, but in the very fabric of the planet itself. Some theorists suggest that isotope ratios, deliberately altered through industry, could serve as such a message. A layer of unusual chemistry in the rocks, too precise to be natural, could act as a marker, a sign to future scientists that intelligence once walked this earth. Others imagine geometric formations carved into mountain ranges or coastlines, so vast they could only be recognized from above, designed not for contemporaries, but for civilizations yet to come. Even more speculative are the ideas of quantum archaeology, information hidden in the quantum states of matter, encoded in ways we do not yet understand, waiting for an intelligence advanced enough to unlock it. To us, such concepts may sound like fantasy, but perhaps to an ancient society, they were science. If such messages exist, we may already have encountered them without realizing it. An anomaly, dismissed as a natural quirk, might in fact be a deliberate signal. A ratio of elements that seems puzzling. A pattern in the fossil record that feels too orderly. Or even myths that echo across cultures could all be fragments of an intentional communication designed to outlast the rise and fall of empires. The search for intentional signals is not only about the past, it is also a mirror for the present. In imagining how others might have spoken to us across time, we confront the question of what legacy we ourselves will leave. If humanity were to vanish tomorrow, what would remain as our message to the future? Would it be the isotopic scars of our industry, the plastics woven into sediments, the whispers of our myths, or something we have not yet conceived? Perhaps the greatest message of all is this, that civilizations come and go, but knowledge can endure if carried forward with intention. And if we learn to read the signals of deep time, we may discover that we are not only the recipients of this legacy, but also its next custodians. Chapter 12. Space Archaeology and the Solar System. If evidence of ancient civilizations has been erased from Earth, perhaps it survives elsewhere, in the silent reaches of space. Unlike our restless planet, the Moon, Mars, and asteroids preserve their surfaces for billions of years. Craters remain frozen in time, footprints linger in dust, and artifacts left behind could endure long after their makers are gone. This is the promise of space archaeology, to search not only the Earth, but the solar system itself, for signs of intelligence long vanished. The Moon is humanity's nearest archive. Without atmosphere, weather, or tectonic churn, its surface holds memories that Earth erases. Every footprint from the Apollo missions still lies undisturbed. If another civilization once explored our skies, the Moon would be a perfect place to seek their traces. Metallic fragments, unnatural geometries, or isotopic residues could remain hidden in the regolith, waiting for discovery. Mars, too, invites speculation. Its ancient riverbeds and dry basins speak of a wetter past, when oceans may have covered much of the planet. If life took hold there, or if travelers once visited, the signs could remain in caves, buried under dust, or frozen in polar ice. Some even suggest that Mars may have once hosted its own civilization, now lost to time, a sibling world whose story ended long before ours began. Asteroids and comets offer another possibility. Rich in minerals, they are natural candidates for mining. If an ancient civilization reached space, they may have harvested these bodies, leaving behind unnatural scars, geometric excavation patterns, or traces of industry frozen in vacuum. Unlike Earth, such traces would not erode away. They would remain, silent markers drifting through the dark. Even beyond our solar system, astronomers have observed anomalies that stir curiosity. Stars that flicker strangely, or objects with unusual orbits, invite speculation about ancient technologies, Dyson spheres, megastructures, or probes adrift in interstellar space. Though natural explanations usually prevail, the possibility remains that what we call anomalies may be artifacts, the tools of civilizations whose names we will never know. Space is vast, and the silence is overwhelming. But silence is not proof of emptiness. Just as Earth holds its mysteries in stone and ice, the solar system may carry its own archaeology in dust and rock. If civilizations have risen before, perhaps their most enduring monuments are not on Earth at all, but scattered across the stars. Chapter 13. Quantum Archaeology and Consciousness Preservation. What if civilizations do not only leave behind artifacts of stone, metal, or plastic, but also fragments of themselves woven into the very fabric of reality? Beyond geology and archaeology lies a more speculative frontier, the realm of quantum memory, where information may endure not as ruins, but as patterns imprinted at the deepest levels of matter and energy. Some theorists suggest that every event, every interaction, leaves a trace in the quantum states of particles. If this is true, then the universe itself is an archive, a record of every civilization, every life, every moment, etched invisibly into the structure of space-time. Recovering that information would be unimaginably difficult, but perhaps not impossible, to a species advanced enough to manipulate quantum reality. This idea, sometimes called quantum archaeology, speculates that even if a civilization were physically erased, its monuments ground to dust, its species long extinct, the totality of its existence might still be recoverable. The memory of its knowledge, culture, and even individuals could linger as quantum echoes. To access them would be to resurrect the past in ways that transcend traditional archaeology. Linked to this is the notion of consciousness preservation. If civilizations reached a point where biology became fragile, they may have sought to preserve their minds in more durable forms. Data encoded in crystals, consciousness uploaded into quantum substrates, or neural patterns embedded in electromagnetic fields. These could endure long after bodies and machines decayed. Such remnants might appear to us not as artifacts but as anomalies, inexplicable patterns in energy fields, signals we cannot decode, or even phenomena we mistake for natural noise. The implications are profound. If quantum archaeology is possible, then nothing is truly lost. Civilizations may vanish, but their essence may still exist, waiting to be read. What we call ghosts of the past could, in fact, be fragments of memory preserved in physics itself. Skeptics argue that these ideas belong to science fiction, not science, and perhaps they are right. But again and again, history shows that yesterday's speculation becomes tomorrow's discovery. Atomic energy, once fantasy, is now reality. Quantum computing, once a dream, is now emerging. If our own trajectory points in this direction, then perhaps others before us have already walked this path. If so, then the search for lost civilizations must go beyond rocks and ruins. We may need to look into the very patterns of nature itself, listening not only to the silence of stone, but to the whispers of quantum reality. Chapter 14. The Galactic Context. To understand whether ancient civilizations might have existed on Earth, we must also widen our perspective. Our planet is not isolated. It is part of a vast galactic ecosystem, a stage upon which countless stars and worlds rise and fall across cosmic time. If civilizations emerge naturally from the laws of physics and biology, then Earth cannot be unique. The question is not only whether we are the first here, but whether we are alone in the galaxy. The Milky Way is more than 100,000 light-years across, containing hundreds of billions of stars. Around nearly every star, astronomers now know, planets orbit. Many of these planets reside in habitable zones where conditions could permit liquid water and, potentially, life. Statistically, the odds seem overwhelming. Life should not only exist elsewhere, but intelligence, too, should have arisen many times across the galaxy's history. And yet, when we listen to the stars, we hear silence. This paradox, known as the Fermi paradox, haunts the search for extraterrestrial life. If civilizations are common, why do we not see evidence? No signals, no probes, no vast megastructures. Perhaps the answer is simple. Civilizations rise, but they do not last. They burn brightly for a time, then vanish, leaving only faint traces, too faint to bridge the gulfs of space. In this context, the Silurian hypothesis takes on new weight. If civilizations on Earth might have risen and fallen before us, why not elsewhere in the galaxy? Perhaps the galaxy itself is littered with ruins, planets scarred by industry, atmospheres poisoned by technology, isotopic fingerprints marking the rise and fall of societies we will never meet. Earth may be only one example in a universal pattern of impermanence. Some suggest that advanced civilizations may choose silence deliberately. They may hide, fearing predators, or adopt ethics that prevent them from interfering with younger species. Others may transcend physical existence altogether, migrating into digital or quantum realms, leaving little behind for us to detect. What we interpret as absence may instead be presence in a form we cannot recognize. The galactic perspective forces us to humility. We are one young civilization in a universe billions of years old. Even if intelligence has flourished 1,000 times before, the odds of overlap, the odds of two civilizations existing close enough in both time and space to communicate, are slim. Perhaps this explains the silence. Perhaps we are listening in the wrong way, or at the wrong time. But if civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy, then Earth's story is not unique. It is part of a larger cosmic rhythm, a cycle of creation, flourishing, and loss. And in that rhythm, we glimpse our own fragility. We are not only asking whether others once walked this world, but whether the galaxy itself is a graveyard of civilizations, each leaving behind only whispers in the dark. Chapter 15. Warnings and Lessons for Humanity. Speculation about forgotten civilizations is not merely an exercise in curiosity. It is also a mirror, reflecting the choices we face today. If others have risen before us and vanished, their greatest legacy may not be the fragments they left behind, but the warnings we can infer from their absence. Their silence becomes our cautionary tale. Consider the signatures we ourselves are leaving in Earth's record. Rising greenhouse gases, radioactive isotopes, plastics woven into sediments. These are not only the marks of our progress, but also of our fragility. Climate change, ecological collapse, and nuclear proliferation reveal how easily the achievements of millennia could unravel. If forgotten civilizations once walked this earth, Perhaps they too faced crises of their own making and failed to overcome them. The possibility of earlier civilizations forces us to ask, what if self-destruction is not the exception, but the rule? Perhaps every intelligent society reaches a point where its technological power outpaces its wisdom, and in that imbalance lies its undoing. If this pattern has repeated across deep time, then we are simply the latest to walk a dangerous path. The question is whether we can learn to break the cycle. History, myth, and geology all whisper the same lesson. Nothing is permanent. Empires collapse. Ecosystems shift. Planets reset themselves in cycles of destruction and renewal. But within this impermanence lies a choice. We cannot halt the passage of time, but we can decide how we live within it. We can choose sustainability over exploitation, cooperation over conflict, foresight over hubris. In imagining the ruins of past civilizations, we glimpse our own potential future. Will our cities be swallowed by oceans, our monuments ground to dust, our species reduced to a thin layer of chemical anomalies in stone? Or will we find a way to endure, to leave behind not only scars, but wisdom? The warnings of deep time are stark, but they are not without hope. If civilizations have risen and fallen before, then we are not alone in our struggle. We are participants in a story larger than ourselves, a story that spans billions of years. And while others may have faltered, we still have the chance to choose differently, to listen to the silence of the past and answer it with resilience, to ensure that when future beings search for us in the layers of Earth, they will not only find traces of our downfall, but evidence that we learned, adapted, and endured. Chapter 16, Conclusion, Deep Time and Our Choice. As we reach the end of this journey through stone, myth, and imagination, we stand before a vast horizon. Deep time. Measured against billions of years, our entire history is but a spark, a flicker in the cosmic night. And yet, within that flicker, we find questions powerful enough to reshape how we see ourselves. Are we truly the first civilization to walk this earth? Or are we simply the latest, heirs to a planet that has carried many before us, their stories buried in silence? The Silurian Hypothesis does not claim certainty. It does not insist that ancient civilizations existed. Instead, it asks a deeper question. Would we even know if they had? Could we distinguish their traces from the natural rhythms of geology? Or would they vanish beneath oceans, ice, and stone, disguised as the ordinary patterns of Earth? In seeking their presence, we confront the limits of our perception and the fragility of our own. Across these chapters, we have explored anomalies in rock, whispers in myth, revolutions in ecology, the enigma of nuclear fire, the hidden worlds beneath ice and sea, the possibility of messages encoded in stone, and the silent archives of the Moon and Mars. Each mystery challenges us not only to consider what might have been, but what might yet be. Each reminder of impermanence invites us to reflect on the legacy we ourselves are leaving behind. Perhaps no other civilizations have walked this path before us. Perhaps we are unique. If so, then our responsibility is even greater, for we carry the torch alone. But if others have risen and fallen, then their silence is a warning. Technology, without wisdom, leads only to ruin. Either way, the choice before us is the same. We must decide whether we will endure, or whether we too will become a thin, enigmatic layer in the rocks of deep time. The story of forgotten civilizations is ultimately the story of ourselves. It is a meditation on impermanence, on memory, and on possibility. If deep time teaches us anything, it is humility. Civilizations may rise and fall like waves, but knowledge, wisdom, and the will to endure can carry forward. The silence of the past is not empty. It is a mirror, asking us what kind of ancestors we wish to be. In the end, the greatest question is not whether we are alone or whether others came before us, but what we will do with the time we have. Deep time stretches behind us and before us, vast and indifferent. Yet within this brief spark of existence, our choices matter. The story of forgotten civilizations is not just about the past, it is also about us. If humanity is truly the first civilization, then our choices matter more than ever. But if others have risen and fallen before, then their silence is our warning. This was just one chapter in the vast book of deep time. Join us as we turn the next page, subscribe, and continue the journey into the mysteries of Earth, the cosmos, and the civilizations time tried to erase.